this week's Technique Tuesday video, I'll demonstrate 2 decreases that mirror knit 2 together through the back loop. As always, if you'd like to jump right to a specific point in the video, there are direct links down in the description. I have a little swatch on the needles, which is made up of twisted ribs. So the knit stitches are twisted, and then in between each knit stitch I have a purl. And I have done some decreases. So I started out with a knit 1 through the back loop, purl all the way across, well up to about here. And then these stitches are also twisted, but they're twisted in the opposite direction. So these stitches were twisted by entering the needle through the back loop. And these were twisted by slipping as if to knit, returning the stitch, and then knitting through the front. And that causes the stitch to twist to the right, while these are all twisting to the left. And I've worked some decreases. Right here, I've worked a couple of decreases every right side row. If the stitch on the right ends up on top, we say that's a left leaning decrease. Over here, I have a couple of sets of right leaning decreases. So the left stitch ends up on top, so the decrease points to the right. So these 2 sets of decreases are mirrors to this decrease over here, but they mirror in different ways, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So if we look at the actual stitches here, we can see that they're twisted, and we can see that the stitch that ends up going to the left is on top. So these stitches are leaning to they're twisting to the left. And the decrease that I'm making is leaning to the left, and it's a knit 2 together through the back loop. So when I enter these 2 stitches through the back, my working needle is pointing to the left. That tells me that this decrease is going to result in a left leaning decrease. And so I grab the yarn and I pull it through, and as these stitches come off the needle, this is a purl coming off the needle, so it's a little bit harder to see. But the one on top, for sure you can see, is a left twisting stitch. So it's a left leaning decrease made up of left twisting stitches. So now I'm going to work across until I get over to here. So I'm going to continue working these twisted stitches by always entering through the back, and that is going to twist these stitches as they come off the needle. But this time I'm going to work these 2 stitches together in a way that causes the result to lean to the right. Now, in order for a decrease to lean to the right when I work 2 stitches together, I have to enter the stitches so that my working needle points right. If I were to just do a regular knit 2 together, these stitches would not end up twisted. Slip each of these 2 stitches as if to purl through the back. So I'm going to enter, and you can see how that stitch is already twisting. I'm going to enter this one, and these are twisted already, but now I'm going to return them to the left hand needle. So again, as I enter the stitch, my working needle is pointed to the right, so the resulting decrease is going to lean to the right, but the stitches are still twisting left. So this is a mirror to knit 2 together through the back loop, in that it's a twisted stitches that are, the decrease leans to the right, but the stitches are twisted in the same direction as these are. Just the decreases themselves are leaning in opposite directions. This set of stitches are twisted as well, but they're twisted so that they twist to the right. And the way you get a stitch that twists to the right is it has to be, I slip as if to knit and return it. So now it's sitting on the needle differently than it would be normally if I were going to knit it. And now when I knit it through the front, it's going to twist to the right. So again, I slip as if to knit in order and return it. And then now I can get twisted stitches that twist to the right. So in order to make a decrease of twisted stitches, where the stitches are twisting to the right and the decrease leans to the right, I need to slip both stitches as if to knit and return both of them to the left hand needle. And now I can knit them together through the front. Again, that needle is pointing to the right, so I know it's going to end up being a right leaning decrease, but because I had slipped them as if to knit and returned them, the stitches themselves also lean to the right, twist to the right. So either one of these types of situations can be said to mirror the knit two together through the back loop when you're working with twisted stitches. It just depends on whether you are doing a complete mirror of the twisting plus the decrease lean, or if you are maintaining the same twist for all of the stitches and just choosing to lean your decrease so that it mirrors this decrease. These two decreases I demonstrated today are not terribly common, but each of them has their place in projects where twisted stitches are incorporated and decreases are needed. Even if you're not in an immediate need of these decreases, it can be really useful to practice them on swatches in order to understand how slipping stitches in different ways can affect the resulting twist of a stitch. How you slip a stitch, combined with whether you knit it through the front or the back, determines whether or not a stitch will twist and in which direction that twist will be. If you have any comments or questions about today's video or suggestions for videos you'd like to see in the future, you can leave those down in the comments below or join the discussion in my Ravelry group, Rocks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.